phone's blowing up, right? And like, I just go straight to voicemail, blows up, straight to voicemail, blows up, straight to voicemail. And I'm like, okay, I guess I better answer this. And I didn't really have anything to hide. So I wasn't really afraid to answer. I was a little nervous to get that call. And so I pull over to my truck and they're like, Mr. Monty. I'm like, yes, this is George. This is Agent so-and-so with FBI. I just went to your house. I really need to talk to you. It's very important. And I'm like, what's this about? He's like, I prefer not to tell you over the phone. In fact, you know, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. Okay. All right. Yeah. You want to meet me? How about Saturday? He's like, no, today. How about I come to your work? And I'm like, that's a horrible idea. Don't come to my work. How about you meet me on my route? And they're like, okay, I'm going to be at this spot at this time. And so, you know, I'm nervous. I'm zooking out thinking like, I didn't do anything wrong. I got nothing. Let's go talk to these guys. And so I meet them at the spot and these two guys show up, you know, and they jump out and they have like this black binder and they come up to me and they're like, Mr. Monty? I'm like, yeah. And they show me this black binder. And they're like, we would like you to look at all these pictures here and see if you notice any of these people. So I'm looking through the binder and I'm like, nope. And I'm becoming painfully aware that they're just staring at me while I'm looking through this binder, you know, and I'm like, okay, are they just looking at me? Like, you know, I don't know anybody in these binders. And so, you know, I'm aware, like really aware that they're just staring at me. So I hand them back the binder. I'm like, I don't know any of these people, man. I have no idea what you're talking about. And they're like, well, then maybe you can explain how this guy has your identification card. And I'm like, I started thinking for a minute. And I go, oh, you know what? I was pickpocketed at the mall like 3 months ago, man. And like all the air just comes out of these guys. And they're like, oh. They're like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. I'm like, you know what? You can get like the cam from Nordstrom's because the guy tried to buy a watch and I figured it out. So they have a cam on there. And so the reason that story is important is because that weekend I came home and did like a giant dose of mushrooms. And it was a weird, you know what I mean? And so, but the experience of having like these FBI guys wanting me and thinking that I was like this mastermind criminal, it was something that stayed on my mind for a few days. And I really played with it. And then during that deep trip, I was like, wow, man, these guys thought that I was like this master criminal or something. But more than that, in their mind, I was. And then in that trip, I was like, why don't you be? You could be. They thought you were. You know what? They thought you were. Why can't you be? Why instead of being George the UPS driver, why don't you be George the master criminal? You know, and this whole, like this whole trip. And it was like a good one, man. Like time distorting, seeing myself and then the idea came, what kind of crime would you do? Well, it wouldn't be something dumb like that guy did. You know what? You'd have to think about this, but it would probably be some sort of white collar crime, some sort of Robin Hood style, you know? And I just went in depth, and for like a good hour, I was this other person. And when I came out of that trip, like it changed the way I saw the world. I didn't become a master criminal, but I did bring back this ability to visualize myself. And when you and I spoke about visualizing, how your brain can't tell the difference between something that happens and something you vividly imagine. And for me, like it was one of those ones where you bring something back, and I was like, holy shit, I could be something totally different than I am. And I could do it today. I could start it today. And so I think the reason like I started bringing up that point is that, you know, you can begin to have, once you have that experience of seeing yourself differently, that's the experience that the game, the relationship between psychedelics and the game could do for people. But I think it's an experience that someone that wanted to be an investor should have knowledge of, because that's the same time, like what you're doing provides people with that kind of transformative experience that could fundamentally change their life. It could change mental illness. It could change everything, and it could gamify it. Like it's what you're doing is magical. And that's what I see the vision of it there. But thanks for letting me share that story, man.